Hello everybody, today I'm bringing you a review of a very interesting product, and it's a Bluetooth beanie or hat, and I'm happen to be wearing it right now. Basically it is a knit hat for cold weather or the winter time, and it is hand washable, and I would suggest only hand washable and line dry, meaning once you hand wash it and squeeze it out pretty good, get the water out, let it air dry. Do not put it in the dryer because it'll probably shrink the hat. And the best part about it is not only is it Bluetooth, but the Bluetooth unit itself is removable, and I will get to that in just a moment. But let's go over a few things about the hat. It is Bluetooth version 5.0. which is really good, and yes, it is backwards compatible with the lower versions of Bluetooth. More on that in just a moment as well. Does have a lithium ion battery in it of 130 milliamp hours. Only takes about 2 hours to charge it. When I first got this in, it only took maybe about 35-40 minutes to get it fully charged, but after I ran it down and charged it back up, yeah, it takes about 2 hours. And you do get up to 10 hours of playtime out of this, but I'll explain that in detail a little bit more. And you do get about standby time, about 60 hours. What that means is if you charge it up right now, you just toss the hat away or down somewhere 2-3 days later, it'll still play. But after the 60 hours, you'll probably have to want to top up the battery again. And you do get, depending upon your device, you can get up to the 45-foot range. Now, I tested this Bluetooth beanie on a couple different devices. I did it on a tablet, which is my Google 2013 tablet. I did it on my Apple iPod Touch 5, my Microsoft Lumia 640 phone, and my new Samsung S7 phone. And like I said, depending upon the device, like when I used it on my tablet, I got maybe up to 25 feet because of the Bluetooth version that's in it. But also it got a little bit more shortened, if you will, once I started walking around in my house. Like I went down into the basement, started noticing it was disconnecting, or not really disconnecting, but a lot of static, and it wanted to disconnect. The same thing on my Apple iPod Touch 5. Walked around a little bit. Wasn't as bad as the tablet, but you know, every now and then I heard a little bit of crackling and stuff, you know, because I left this in my bedroom. Then I went downstairs to do some laundry, and I heard a little bit of crackling, like it was starting to lose the signal, and that was with the Apple iPod Touch 5. With my Lumia 640, same thing. Left this in my bedroom, went walking around the house, went into the basement to check on my laundry. Started hearing some, you know, some troublesome static, some like it wanted to disconnect, but it stayed there. I mean, I had to find a sweet spot in the basement so I really wouldn't hear any of that crackling like it wanted to disconnect. And on my Samsung Galaxy S7, didn't have that problem when I was walking around. The music actually lowered in volume slightly, and that was about it. I didn't really hear any static or anything, and so I said, okay, screw it. So made sure every single light was on in my bedroom, in the hallway, in the kitchen, the living room, even all the lights in my basement. I made sure they were all on, did the same thing, and the same thing kind of happened. The volume sounded like it dropped in volume a little bit, like it was trying to like the signal was not coming through as much, but I didn't hear that crackling or static you normally would hear. Then I took all 4 devices outside and I decided to test them in the distance. And by far the Samsung Galaxy S7 had the best signal. I actually got about 40 feet to 42 feet before I started hearing that little bit of a crackle or static that you're losing signal. But that was in line of sight. With all the other devices, I didn't get that much because they're not Bluetooth version 5.0. They're like version 4 or maybe 4.1. So I got about the 32 feet out of those before it pretty much cut off. So it does depend upon your device for the Bluetooth version. If your device is probably 4.0 or higher, you're probably going to get a little bit longer range than something that might be older. Okay, so please bear that in mind. But it is Bluetooth 5.0. Now, what I'm going to do is get you down to the wood top so I can show you how you can remove the Bluetooth elements on the inside of the hat. So not only can you wash the hat by hand, has to be hand washed and line dried, but also how to put it back in. Basically, you're just going to reverse everything I showed you, but I'll show you anyway. All right, so let's go down to the wood top. Okay, so this is how you're going to remove the speaker element from the hat so you can hand wash the hat. Remember, hand wash only. Do not put it in the dryer. You want to line dry this or air dry it, okay? Best way I can suggest is turn it inside out. As you can see, it's like a nice felt inner liner. And on the back, you're going to see this hole. On one side of the head where one speaker is, if you notice, there's a little bit of stitching here. That's to keep the speaker in place. And on the other side, has the same thing. So what you want to do is see how I'm just kind of using my fingers to squish it forward. When you get to this point, the end of the stitching, it's going to be a little hard to push it through. But you just keep pushing it till the speaker unit comes out. And you do the same thing for the other side. And that's what the speaker unit looks like. 2 speakers. And you don't have to worry about which speaker goes by the little tab that has your volume up and down and your play pause function, because that speaker has the 3 individual buttons. And once you turn the unit on, you're going to see a blue light flashing. Press it again. Power off. Now, to get it into pairing mode, you just simply press and hold the power button. Power on. Pairing. And then you see how it's flashing the red and blue, and then you just look on your device and you pair it up that way. To control the volume, you got to press and hold the button here, and that'll go all the way up, and then it'll tell you when the volume hits maximum. To turn the volume down, the exact opposite. You press this button. You got to press and hold until you get to the desired volume. To pause, you hit the middle button. To play, you hit the middle button. Let me shut this off. And to take a phone call and to end a call, it's all on the middle button. To track skip forward, you just do a quick press like that. That'll go forward. Quick press on the back button, goes backwards. And that's it. One of the things I do like about this is, say the hat goes bad. Well, this is long enough. You might be able to just use, your typical type of knit hat where you have to like fold it up like this, Then you can just slip them in there like that and still use them. Also, one thing I'm going to tell you too, on Amazon, read the descriptions for this hat or these type of hats. Some only have 1 speaker in them. This is the stereo hat. There are some that are mono. So if you don't buy the one that I'm leaving a link for in the description, make sure you read the description on Amazon to make sure you get the stereo version. Okay, so let's get these back inside the hat. Basically, all you're going to do is reverse everything I showed you on how to get these out. But the way I found easiest is find the one with the 3 buttons on it. Find, the little leather pad that's on it. Of course, find the hole. Now, you're going to want to make sure that the speaker holes are facing you since the hat is inside out. And just like that. That way, when these go in, the buttons will line up with the little button indicators on that pad, right? So, you just find the hole, put it in there. Be careful that you don't pull on that wire or else you'll screw everything up. And I just basically squeeze it until it gets right into place. That's one speaker. And the other one, oops, I overshot. Went a little too far. Pull it back out. And you just squeeze it, making sure that you're not pulling on the speaker wire itself. Now you could just take it and use your finger like this and then pull the hat while your finger's in there if you want. For me, with my big old stubby fingers, it's kind of hard for me to do. So I like just to squeeze it back into place. And you'll know when to stop, like I said, because this little stitching here will stop the speaker from going any further. Now you'll notice you'll have a little bit of wire left over. So I just take that, just tuck it right on in. The last thing you'll want to do is remember that hole I showed you earlier here in the hat? You just line up the USB port, just like that, and you're ready to go. The microphone's in here for call quality, but it'll get the job done. Let's just put it that way. It's not the best. There's other ones out there that have a better sound for taking and making phone calls. So in my opinion, your best bet with this Beanie hat is just to take the phone out and use the phone instead of the hat. The volume on this really was surprising. It does get really loud, pretty good as a matter of fact. It's not going to drive or drown out everything around you. You'll still be able to maybe hear a car passing by or a horn honking, but the ambient noise or the outside noise isn't going to drown out the music in here, so you can still enjoy your music with these. Runtime, I had the volume set at 65-70%, and I got 7.5 hours out of that. So yes, I believe you can get the 10 hours playtime, but maybe set at 50% or lower. Okay, moving on to how does it sound. The overall sound is very deep, rich, and well rounded. The bass really comes through on this headset. It's not muddy at all. It's nice and clean. You can really hear it thumping through these little tiny speakers. It's not for bass heads, but the bass is really nice and fully rounded. The mid-range does punch through the mix, not as much as I would like, but it's still there. It does give some clarity in the mid-range area. The high end, well, the high end is, it seems like they set the high end a little bit higher than the mid-range and the way they tuned these. What do I mean by that? Well, at the 65-70% range, for me, that's the perfect way. You can hear everything, the low, the high, and the mids equally that way. Once I started getting around the 90% to 100%, it just seemed like the high end ended up kicking up a little bit. And I noticed that with some of the high notes, either from a vocalist or a guitar player, you know, like a guitar riff, that kind of, you know, irritated my ears a little bit. So I would say try to keep it below the 90% mark in the volume so you don't get that high pitched screech coming from the high end. But once again, the overall sound is very rich, deep, and well-rounded. It's not muddy at all. Also, I didn't hear any distortion even at 100%. Okay, so for an on-ear set of Bluetooth speakers, I like it. I think it performs very well, and especially at the price point, you can't go wrong. Do I recommend you get this beanie hat, this Bluetooth beanie hat? Absolutely. To keep your head warm during the winter, you don't have to carry around any extra earbuds or headphones. It's all right here. You just got your phone and this, and you're good. It'll also make a great Christmas gift for you, your loved ones, or someone in your family, or even your friends. And that's it. Go ahead and get one. And until the next video, you have a great day.